He woke with a gasp, heart hammering against his ribs like a frantic drummer. Cold sweat slicked his skin, a clammy sheen in the pre-dawn darkness. His eyes darted around the room, searching for the source of his sudden terror. There, in the corner, a figure materialized from the shadows. A woman. Tall and sculpted, she exuded an aura of power that sent chills down his spine. Her skin, the color of rich olives, seemed to glow with an inner light. A cascade of raven hair framed a face both beautiful and haunting. Her lips painted a vibrant, bloody red. Her eyes, a mesmerizing crimson, held his gaze captive, drilling into his very soul. Fear, raw and primal, surged through him. He tried to speak, to cry out, but his voice remained trapped in his throat, a prisoner of his own terror. The woman took a step closer, her movements fluid and silent, like a predator stalking its prey. Her lips curled into a sad smile, a hint of sympathy in her burning gaze. "Do not be afraid," she whispered, her voice a husky caress that seemed to wrap around him, both soothing and terrifying. "My name is Lilith, and I have chosen you." Chosen? For what? The question echoed silently in his mind, a maelstrom of confusion swirling within him. He knew instinctively that this woman, this Lilith, was not human. Her beauty was otherworldly, her presence radiating an ancient, almost alien power. "You are in danger," Lilith continued, her voice barely a whisper, yet each word resonated through him with the force of a thunderclap. "As is your entire world." Her eyes, pools of molten crimson, seemed to reflect a pain as old as time itself. She spoke of an impending doom, a threat from beyond the stars that sought to enslave humanity, a darkness that would consume everything he held dear. Lilith claimed to be Earth's last hope, a warrior against this cosmic horror. But even she couldn't fight alone. He wanted to scream, to dismiss her words as the ramblings of a madwoman. Yet deep down, a terrifying certainty took root. Lilith was telling the truth. He could feel it in the marrow of his bones, in the very air he breathed. The world was on the precipice of annihilation, and he was somehow caught in the middle of it all. "I can give you the strength to fight," Lilith offered, her voice a hypnotic melody that lured him closer to an abyss he didn't understand. "To stand beside me against the coming darkness." Her hand, cool and smooth, cupped his cheek, her touch sending shivers down his spine. He flinched, pulling back instinctively. This was madness, a fever dream from which he desperately needed to wake. But as Lilith leaned closer, her crimson eyes boring into his, he felt an overwhelming sense of inevitability wash over him. There was no escape, not from this, not from his destiny. Her lips, those intoxicatingly red lips, parted slightly, revealing a flash of sharp white fangs. "Embrace the darkness," she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. "Become what you were meant to be." Then, with a swiftness that belied her grace, she struck. Pain, sharp and searing, ripped through him as her fangs pierced his neck. He gasped, his body convulsing as a burning liquid like molten ice surged through his veins. His vision blurred, the edges of his world dissolving into a dizzying kaleidoscope of colors. His last conscious thought, before darkness claimed him completely, was a single terrifying word: vampire. He awoke to a symphony of sensations. His body, once sluggish and weak, now thrummed with an unfamiliar energy. His senses were heightened, every whisper, every scent, every subtle vibration in the air amplified to an almost unbearable degree. The world exploded with vibrant life, a kaleidoscope of colors too intense for his mortal eyes to have ever perceived. Gone was the fear, replaced by a strange sense of exhilaration. He felt powerful, invincible, reborn. As he rose from the bed, he caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror across the room. His reflection stared back at him, a stranger with eyes as crimson as the blood that now flowed through his veins. Lilith stood beside him, a small smile playing on her lips. "Welcome," she said, her voice filled with a strange warmth, "to your new life." He wanted to be repulsed, terrified even, but all he could feel was a sense of belonging, a connection to this creature of darkness that defied all logic. He was a vampire. The realization should have horrified him, filled him with dread. Instead, it felt right. Like finally finding the missing piece of a puzzle he hadn't even realized he was trying to solve. "You are not alone," Lilith said, her voice pulling him from his thoughts. She gestured towards the shadows at the edge of the room, where another figure began to emerge. This woman, tall and statuesque, moved with the sinuous grace of a panther. Her skin, the color of polished ebony, gleamed under the faint moonlight filtering through the window. "This is Silk," Lilith continued. "She will guide you, teach you how to control your newfound abilities." Silk inclined her head, her eyes as black and fathomless as a starless night, studying him with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. He learned later that Silk had been sent to eliminate him. His transformation, Lilith explained, had been a risky gamble, one that could have easily gone wrong. If he had succumbed to the beast within, if he had proven unworthy, Silk would have been forced to end his life before he could become a danger. But Silk, despite her initial reservations, saw something in him, a spark of defiance, a flicker of the hero he could become. She took him under her wing, training him with a ruthless efficiency that pushed him to his limits and beyond. Under her tutelage, he learned to control his thirst, to master his newfound strength and speed. He learned to move like a shadow, to fight with a ferocity he never knew he possessed. The threat Lilith had spoken of was not a distant one. Across the globe, strange lights filled the sky, heralding the arrival of an enemy unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. They came from the stars, these invaders, driven by an insatiable hunger for conquest. Their technology dwarfed mankind's, their weapons capable of unimaginable destruction. The world watched in terror as cities crumbled, armies were decimated, and governments fell. Hope, it seemed, was but a dying ember in the face of such overwhelming might. But Lilith, Silk, and the fledgling army of vampires they had gathered refused to surrender. They were Earth's last line of defense, a united front against the cosmic horror that threatened to consume all. The war was long and brutal, a desperate struggle for survival against insurmountable odds. But amidst the chaos and bloodshed, something remarkable happened. The protagonist, once an ordinary man caught in extraordinary circumstances, rose to the challenge. He fought with the fury of a cornered animal, the skill of a seasoned warrior, and the unwavering determination of a true leader. His name, once lost in the annals of obscurity, became a beacon of hope, a symbol of defiance against the encroaching darkness. He stood beside Lilith and Silk, a trinity of power, their combined might the last bastion of hope for a world teetering on the brink of annihilation. The fate of humanity, it seemed, rested on the shoulders of a vampire who had once been just a man, awakened to his destiny by the bite of a queen.